Wrestling is a work, unless it's a shoot. But then sometimes you get work shoots even though everything we're seeing is meant to be a work. What even is wrestling anymore? Anyway, the death of kayfabe has been responsible for quite the shake-up in terms of how pro wrestling can be portrayed, and not just for the fans watching. Even behind the scenes, this confusion can increase to such a point that people have no idea what's going on anymore. It's like a madhouse, and the inmates have been let loose. I'm Simon from WhatCulture, and this is 10 crippling times WWE worked themselves into a shoot. Number 10, the Montreal Screwjob. Of course! What else? The biggest shoot in the history of shoots. The Montreal Screwjob changed the industry forever. Without it, we may never have got a heel Vince McMahon, which means we may never have gotten a foil for Steve Austin. Bret Hart may have not punched in the face, and he may not have gone to WCW. Who knows? The main event for Survivor Series 97 did start as a work though, because of course, Hart was leaving and he didn't want to lose to Shawn Michaels in Canada, so he agreed to drop the title after this night. But then it all became a shoot. Michaels had Hart locked in the sharpshooter, allowing referee Earl Hebner to call for the bell. The crowd was confused, the hitman was furious, McMahon was spat on, it was nuts. The thing is, if the boss hadn't booked himself into a corner or Bret's contract had just been adhered to, then maybe all of this would have been avoidable. McMahon did make the most out of the fallout though. At the time, however, it was really bad. Number 9, AJ Lee's promo. Long before the women's revolution hit WWE, AJ Lee was one of the few female wrestlers on the roster that fans were invested in. Due to years of poor booking and lousy matches, management needed to shake things up, so in 2013, they gave her the opportunity to speak her mind freely on live TV. This then led to Lee storming to the ring on Raw and confronting the rest of the division, calling them useless and interchangeable. She continued blasting away by claiming she worked her whole life for the opportunity while everyone else was handed their 15 minutes of fame. And she was kinda right. In a very non-PG moment, Lee also insinuated that none of the women on the roster besides herself had earned their careers. "I didn't get here because I was cute," she cried, or because I came from some wrestling family, or because I sucked up to the right people. And yeah, whatever you think that's implying is what it's implying. Ultimately, this wasn't followed up on. Apparently some feelings were actually hurt and the angle was dropped, because you just can't shoot in wrestling. Number 8, CM Punk's pipe bomb. Frustrated with the company and on his way out of the WWE, CM Punk all of a sudden found himself in one hell of a situation. He was the most popular man in the company. Given that Punk and John Cena were about to go at it for the world title, Vince McMahon let CM air his grievances on air. Punk wasn't delivering a word-for-word script given to him by one of 20 writers, and he spoke from the heart and blasted away at everything he thought was wrong with the promotion. It entered work-shoot territory where he quote-unquote went too far and began talking about bullying, but this obviously had all been agreed upon from the outset. Due to the popularity and buzz of this segment, Punk quickly worked out a more lucrative deal with WWE to quickly return, but there did seem to be some animosity backstage at how Punk had handled everything. The summer of Punk was born and it did have some moments, but it also had a lot of moments, such as everything with Triple H, Nash and Alberto Del Rio. Still, the shoot aspect of his promo remains some of the most fascinating dialogue ever spoken on WWE TV. That's pretty good. Number 7, Joey Styles gets extreme. ECW nostalgia was running high in 2006. After 2 successful pay-per-views, many fans were looking for something a little different, and shockingly, Vince McMahon decided to bring ECW back from the grave. At this time, Joey Styles had been the play-by-play announcer on Raw for 6 months, and throughout all of this, it was quite clear that his approach had been turned down, probably because Vince was shouting into his ear each week. For some reason, the WWE then decided to turn this into an angle. After being told he'd have to wear a cheerleader outfit and getting a verbal lashing about this from Jerry Lawler, Styles broke. He pushed the King away, grabbed a microphone, and sounded off on backstage issues like the firing of Jim Ross. He tore down the absurdity of not being able to say pro wrestling on a wrestling show and complained about being pulled from WrestleMania. He even went after Vince's ego. WWE told Styles to tell the audience how he really felt. They gave him exactly what they wanted. Number 6, Vince McMahon's WCW report card. It's fair to say in hindsight that WWE didn't really know what to do with WCW after they bought it. There were countless plans that never came to light, and obviously the whole thing was an absolute bust at the end of the day. It never went the way anybody wanted. A strange moment of shoot-style booking though came when Vince McMahon walked out onto the Raw stage and actually asked the fans who they wanted to see. He'd say a WCW wrestler's name aloud and then ask for a thumbs up or thumbs down reaction. And if anyone knows about ups and downs, it's me. He did this with Goldberg, Lex Luger, Booker T and Buff Bagwell, the latter getting a job apparently because of the cheers his names received. That's weird though, right? An actual poll to see who Vince should try and bring in. McMahon also basically fired Jeff Jarrett the day he bought his rival on live television, and if that ain't a shoot, Well, it was. Number 5, the curtain call. The WWF worked themselves into a shoot in 1996, but they figured it was okay because no one would ever see it. Oh, how wrong they were. Not only did millions end up viewing the footage, but what transpired that night drastically changed the business. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were on their way out of the company, and their clique buddies Shawn Michaels and Triple H wanted a memorable platform to say their farewells. Michaels had cleared all this with Vince that he and Hunter could say goodbye in front of the crowd, but after it happened, well, McMahon just didn't like how it all played out. After Nash lost to HBK, Hunter and Razor came to the ring. The group all hugged and held each other's arms up in celebration, and kayfabe was officially dead. The MSG crowd had never seen anything like it, and while fans knew what they were watching wasn't legit competition, they'd never seen the curtain so effectively torn down. The fallout was brutal. Some of the old school agents were mad, and Michaels had to apologise to many of them backstage, whereas all the heat, as they say, went onto Triple H's shoulders, who was cannon fodder at the time. If nothing else, this just led to the wrestlers backstage hating the remaining clique members even more. Eventually all was forgiven though, and the shoot that angered so many people was used as an angle. Happens all the time now, but back then, this was quite the ticket. Number 4, the marriage of Triple H and Stephanie. In November of 1999, Stephanie McMahon and Andrew Test Martin were getting ready to have a storyline marriage. Then, as part of the angle, Triple H kidnapped Steph, drugged her, and married her. This was horrendous at the time, but I guess it got a little better given that eventually it was just revealed to be one big ruse. Either way, the WWE had scripted Steph and Hunter's character to fall in love, but no one actually thought that would transpire in real life too. In fact, Vince told Steph at one point that he didn't want her dating wrestlers, and to make it even more nuts, Triple H was dating Chyna at this time. This is where both the work elements and shoot elements come together, because it was true on camera, it was true off camera, and then eventually worked its way back onto camera, but only now everyone acknowledged that it was really legit. It's just confusing. Number 3, Daniel PUDER beats Kurt Angle. Nearly. In a one-on-one tussle, even the weaker fighter has a chance. That's just how odds work, and this is what happened when Kurt Angle and Daniel PUDER butted heads on season 4 of Tough Enough. While the show was now more of a series of challenges than a reality program, Daniel PUDER won a squat thrust competition and was given the opportunity to wrestle Angle. For some reason, mind, this would be an actual contest, meaning WWE absolutely worked themselves into this one because there was no need to do this. Within moments, an overly confident Kurt was taken to the ground by PUDER, who locked in a Kimura. The refs panicked because they didn't know what the hell to do, and they ended up counting a pinfall on Daniel so that Angle could save face. Had it gone a few moments longer though, Angle would have had to have tapped out or been seriously injured. Number 2, Diss the Diva. The Diva search of 2004 was awful, mostly because it consisted of a bunch of attractive women who were not trained in wrestling. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? The women took part in a bunch of silly skits each week, and then fans voted who to keep in and who to boot out. When there were only 5 left, they appeared on Raw and were given a live mic to tear each other down, and it was horrifying. Each of them just blurted out what they thought of the other with words you'd never hear on WWE TV back then, let alone today. We had cock, slut, whore, and even cum. Why WWE thought it'd be alright to let these women shoot from the hip is anyone's guess, but it was a mistake. Number 1, the Brawl for All. The Brawl for All is stupid anyway because it completely throws out the window what pro wrestling is meant to be. You're basically being told that this is the real part of the evening and the rest of it is all super fake. However, deciding to settle real scores wrestlers would debate about in the back, WWE in 1998 did greenlight this concept and we had real fights taking place in the ring. 16 mid-carders were chosen to beat the crap out of each other in some weird hybrid between MMA and boxing, the hope being that Dr. Death would win and WWE could make him a new top star. That's fine in theory, but these again were actual fights, so Vince McMahon and his friends had taken away any control they would have had otherwise. And guess what happened? That's right, Bart Gunn, who no one cared about, knocked out everyone. This was then ruined even more at that year's WrestleMania because Butterbean smacked Gunn out for real, ending whatever the hell this was.
I am defiant. I am defiant. I am defiant. I am defiant. I am the villain. We are defiant.
Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Aren't you a star? Don't forget to like, share and subscribe below, and also there's probably more content floating up above my head, so why not check that out as well? Could be a laugh. Probably. 6 out of 10.